Back for another cook along, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. Today is, I believe, day 3 of the statewide stay-at-home rule from Governor DeSantis. I do have good news, though. Remember the other day, I don't know if you guys watched one of my latest videos. He had told us that we can't even get on the beach. We couldn't walk on the beach at all. And so yesterday he lifted that. He kind of laxed on the rules. So now we're back to being able to go to the beach. We can't sunbathe on the beach. You can't lay there on a towel. You can't sit in a chair under an umbrella and relax. You have to be on the move. You've got to be exercising. Fishing is allowed. Running, jogging, biking. So that's great. I moved to Florida from Nashville because of the beaches. And so it wouldn't behoove me at all to even be here if the beaches were closed. All right, you guys, today what we're going to do is we're going to be making fry bread. This is a recipe that was probably used a lot back in the Great Depression when money was hard to come by. And money's hard to come by right now. At least it is for me. I hope it isn't for you guys. But regardless, this is a great recipe. If you've never had grandmother recipe style fry bread, you're going to love this. We're going to have to do this in 2 steps because after we make our dough for our fry bread, we're going to cover it and let it rise a little. So we'll do this in 2 parts. So let's go ahead and get started on our dough. The recipe normally calls for twice what I'm going to tell you guys. So I've cut the recipe in half because I'm only making it for me. This is going to make probably 4 decent size fry bread patties. How would you say that? So right here we have 1 cup of sifted flour. This can be all-purpose flour. It can be self-rising flour. I'm using self-rising flour. So I've already sifted it. I don't have a sifter per se that you would normally use to sift flour, but I do have this little guy. So it took a while, but I sifted the flour with this. I'm a self-proclaimed MacGyver. You can't make something work. You'll figure it out. All right. So 1 cup of sifted flour. This also calls for 3 teaspoons of baking powder. So that's going to be 1½ teaspoons for this recipe. So this is ½ teaspoon. And here is 1 teaspoon. So we're going to measure out each one of these of baking powder. I bought this today because I hardly ever use baking powder. And this was the one I had in my cabinet. And I checked the date on the bottom to see when it expired. This actually expired in 2009. And I was like, I wonder if this is any good. And there was a test that I looked up on Google. It says to see if it's any good to add a teaspoon to ½ cup of warm water. And if it bubbles, you're good to go. It didn't bubble, so I had to go to the store and buy a brand new one of these guys. Okay, so let's start out with the teaspoon first. We'll put our dry ingredients in first. Here is the no, that's a 4th, hang on. Here is a ½ teaspoon. Let's get that measured. Okay, next we're going to put salt. This calls for 1 teaspoon of salt, so we're going to use a ½ teaspoon of salt. All right. Don't overdo it on the salt. I'm going to measure this off in the sink just to make sure I don't have too much. You don't want too much salt. Just make sure you don't add too much. As long as you add exactly how I'm telling you to add these ingredients, it's really hard to mess this up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to need is a cup of milk. And once again, we're going to half that. So I'm going to use my ½ cup measure. Let me grab my milk. Okay, so we're going to measure out a ½ cup of milk. You know, before we add the milk, though, let me get these dry ingredients stirred up. Use a fork. those guys kind of mixed in there together. I totally suggest you do this too. Make sure you combine your dry ingredients before you add the milk. Okay, that looks good. I'm satisfied with that. Okay, we have our 1/2 cup of milk measured. We're going to pour that in. And we're going to begin to mix this together. I like to start around the edge and work my way inward. Just going to work on this for a minute. I'm feeling like this is going to need a little more milk. I'm going to add maybe just a quarter. I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of milk. Okay, so let's continue blending this. It's looking the way it should right now. It's going to be pretty sticky. We're going to form this into a ball. You'll notice as you're blending it up from the outward end that it kind of turns itself into a ball. I'm going to add a little more flour. Sometimes, you know, it's trial and error. When you can add a little more of this or a little more of that to make it right, it's kind of hard to go wrong. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. So we're going to take this, form a ball, and I'm going to add some more flour to my countertop so my dough doesn't stick. Let's pull this bad boy on out of here. See how I did that? Okay, we're going to toss it down, add more flour on top. A little more to where it's not sticky. So we're going to, let me wash my hands off real quick. Just a second. Okay, and we're going to flip this over. Gather your flour a little bit underneath the edges as it'll make it easier for you to flip it over. Okay? All right. Now what we're going to do with this, see, it's a nice, perfectly pillowy ball of dough. I'm going to take this ball of dough. We're going to put it in this dish here, and I'm going to cover it with saran wrap. Actually, you know what, guys? I'm going to work this dough a little more. I think that would make it. I think that'll make it a little better. I'm going to work it a little more. Knead it a little. As I knead it, I might have to add a little more flour as I go because you might feel a little more sticky spots. Okay. I'm going to probably knead this for about a minute or so longer. Just keep adding as much flour as you have to whenever you feel a sticky spot as you're kneading this, as you're preparing it. I think this is ready. I'm gonna do maybe 30 more seconds of kneading. Today was a really rainy day, so it was perfect day for me to do this cook along with you guys. All right, guys. Okay, maybe 20 more seconds. You can knead this for a good 5 minutes if you'd like. The more the better. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to take it, form a nice ball. I felt another sticky spot. Like I said, this is kind of trial and error sometimes. Just don't be afraid to add more flour if you have to. Okay, so we're going to set this in here and cover it with saran wrap for about 45 minutes. And then I'll come back and cut this into 4 parts. And we will, well, I say 4, it depends as we break it up. It's either going to be 3 or 4 fry breads. So let's go ahead and, so we're going to cover it with our saran wrap. We'll just set it here in a cool, dry spot. Set it there and let it rise for about 45 minutes. And then I'll see you guys back here in a little bit. Okay, you guys, we're back. I'm going to get a plate ready to put these guys in when they come out of the oil. So let's go ahead and drop our first one in. We spilled a little oil here, but we'll just wipe that up. Okay, so let's get this flipped. You want to kind of seal, excuse me, you kind of want to seal each side of the dough as it's cooking. Let's flip that over. That seals in that first side. So let's let this go. We're going to flip it a few times probably until it's golden brown on each side. So we'll stay together on this video right now so you guys can watch the whole process. You guys, I'm telling you, this is so good. You guys are going to love this fry bread. It's going to remind you of when you were a kid and your grandmother cooked for you. Got it's puffing up. I'm going to let it go for about a minute more and flip it. I'll probably have to flip it a couple of more times. But all in all, this is probably going to take about 6 minutes. About 3 minutes per side. I can tell the way the oil is bubbling that it's not too hot, but it's hot enough. I think I'll go ahead and check and see what the other side's looking like. Look at that, you guys. Beautiful. Be careful with the oil splatter. I wish I had a bigger cast iron skillet. I would feel more comfortable preparing these that way. I love to cook in cast iron. I don't know. It's like, you know how food, when you grill it, it's much better when you grill food? Same thing with frying. It's just something about cast iron. Okay, we're going to let this go on this side for another 30 seconds. And flip it and see what we got going. I'm probably going to let it go on this other side for maybe 20 more seconds, I think is what it needs. We'll see. Okay, let's go ahead and flip this guy over. Look at that. A pillowy fried pocket of heaven. It's like a heavenly hot pocket. Yeah, these are so diversified. You can use these in so many different ways. Just eat them by themselves. Okay, so we're going to flip this one more time. Let it go for about 20 seconds more. And we're going to have our first fry bread, you guys. I'll save you guys this fry bread, okay, because I got 3 more for me. I'll save you guys this one. I'm glad you guys join me on my videos, especially now that we're grounded in the state of Florida. I love y'all's company. Thanks for subscribing to me, you guys. And if you haven't subscribed and then you enjoy this video, I hope you will subscribe to me. So look at this. Look at that, guys. Perfect. So we're gonna put this little guy over here on the plate, and I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'm gonna continue cooking these. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And as always, I love you guys. Everybody stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. Bye, you guys.